This episode of the HooperCast is brought to you by Letterboxd. Right now, listeners of our show have the chance to win a free 1-year pro account upgrade on Letterboxd. For those of you who don't know, Letterboxd is a social network for film lovers that allows you to track, rate, and review the films you watch. You can follow other members to get recommendations. You can publish lists of films like your top 10 for the year, and a lot more. Letterboxd is free to use. There's no subscription fee, but a pro account is going to provide you with additional features such as a customized summary of your past year's viewing. If you already have an account, then you get a 1-year extension free. So even if you're already paying for the pro account, you're thinking, oh yeah, I don't need this. I've already got it. Thanks a lot, HooperCast, for, I already re-upped my subscription. You get a year free on us. So you're included as well. If you want to enter, all you have to do is listen to our show and we will read the code word at random. Then you're going to send us an email at hoopercast@gmail.com, enter the code word in the subject line of the email, and make sure you include your Letterboxd username in the email so that we know which account to reward. If you send us the code word, but I don't know your login, we're going to move on to the next person. So make sure you send us the code word and your account username, and then you're in like Flint, my friend. The winner will be selected during the last show of each month. You can also follow our show on Letterboxd. Just search HooperCast. That's letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com. You're damn right, everybody. Welcome to the HooperCast. It is I, Connor, and it is me, Dustin, and welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hi, Dustin.
Hello.
How are you, Dustin?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm sorry I was late. I had toilet problems.
It's all good. I also was very late, so I have puppy problems.
Oh, what's wrong with your puppy?
Nothing's wrong necessarily. It's not broken. No,
okay,
she's just teething, and so it's a struggle. Yeah, no, it's all good, but every now and then she gets carried away, and she's like, my teeth hurt, number one, and number two, I don't realize that when I bite, it's too hard for human flesh.
Yeah, dude, my kids obviously who also have teeth went through that, and it's just a lot of crying and being frustrated from from me. And then the kids also are crying or frustrated, but it's just they're just poking through the gums, just slowly but surely, and it never feels any better. And and they're just always getting sick and runny noses because then like it inflames your whole face.
Right.
And God, my son's molars are coming in right now.
Gotcha.
He's got like a couple like giant ones just in the back of his mouth, just peeking through his gums.
Gotcha.
Like the tip of an iceberg. And and he's doing his best.
Gotcha.
And so am I.
That's all you can ask of him. Just do your best, man.
That is what I asked of him. I just said, hey man, just do your best.
Just do your best. If they break through, they break through. If not, that's fine. You'll just look like a hillbilly.
Like Jim Morrison, break on through to the other side.
Yes.
Not like a hillbilly, Jim Morrison. Although he does kind of look like a hillbilly.
You could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, no, I did. I just meant that's what I meant. Whatever. Anyway,
I gotcha.
It is Friday, everybody, and should we say what date it is, Dustin, or have we rubbed people's faces in it enough?
We've probably rubbed people's faces in it enough.
All right, you're either listening to this podcast on the day it was intended to be listened to, or a week later. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud right now, then you opted for the free version of our show, and this episode is a week delayed. That's probably not a big deal for you. You probably made a conscious choice to do that. But if you wanted to hear our show on the actual release date on the Friday it really comes out, then you can donate to our Patreon. It's pretty cheap, if I do say so myself. And I am myself, and I just said so. So I did say so myself, and so does Dustin. Right, Dustin?
I say.
All you gotta do is donate $2 a month. If you just want to get the show on the release date that it promised, then it's just $2 a month. You get an MP3 of the show also, so you don't, access to the archive. We don't have like a website and an archive, so the best we can do is give you the file. And if nothing else, you can go back through all the other posts and download the other MP3s if you want to start your own collection, like a serial killer, but for audio.
Right.
Which I guess we all do with our own iTunes. So in a way, we're all right there on the edge, aren't we?
Yeah, this is true.
You can donate $3 a month if you want to ask questions to the show, which we will answer. And if you want to donate $5 a month, you can get the video version of this show, which does exist. And some people are watching right now. So why don't you join them? Donate $5 a month. You get the video version on the release date Friday. Yes. And so it's great stuff. Trust me. Trust me, I'm on the radio.
Trust me, we make it.
Absolutely. Anyway, guys, patreon.com/HooperCast. If you are listening for free right now, go over there and just give our page a look and donate what you think we're worth. And maybe you think we're worth nothing, and which is why you're where you are now. But that's okay too. But we'd rather you donate. So enjoy being a week behind if that works for you. But God, now I'm sounding kind of like angry and bitter about it. I don't want to be like that, guys. I'm not bitter about it. I understand. Trust me. Believe me.
It's all good. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/HooperCast. You can find us on Twitter at HooperCast, at Dustin Weldon, or at Connor_Dempsey, for us vaguely using these platforms for opinions. And actually, as you heard on the front of the show, you can also find us on Letterboxd. I need to sort of punch some reviews into our Letterboxd account. I've neglected it. So I will be doing some, what am I calling it? Rating transfers into that, when I get the time, but, you can find us there too. So check us out on Letterboxd, HooperCast on Letterboxd. I don't have a graphic for that though. I'm just telling it to you because I like you.
Right.
Anyway, so now that all that business is out of the way, I didn't really intend to just front load it all like that, Dustin, but here we are.
It's all good.
That's how it tends to happen.
Right. We just roll with it.
That's cool. And what tends to happen too is Dustin and I tend to see a lot of stuff on the rental circuit.
We do.
I for sure, but Dustin too. And and we saw Logan Lucky, Dustin.
We did.
And you, I assume, watched it on Amazon Prime, as I did.
I did indeed.
Did you know, by the way, Amazon Prime, there's screenwriting software on Amazon Prime. It's called Amazon Storywriter.
Oh, for real?
It's like a script. It's just like I couldn't get my Movie Magic screenwriter to work. Like the key wouldn't work because it's been through like 3 computers, and finally they were like, "Wait a second."
Right. And you're not real.
And I was like, "Well, I want to write scripts," and and I Googled it, and it brought me to that, and I click on the page. It's just a blank page, and there's all the action, character, all that stuff, and you just click to change modes, and you just command save it, and it saves it in the cloud.
Oh, sweet!
You can log in anywhere on your Amazon account.
They're awesome.
Not paying. This is not a paid sponsorship. I wish it was, because we'd be getting some money right now from them. But I really think that's cool. As as a writer, I just think that's great.
That is cool.
It's so easy. Because remember, 10 years ago, you had to buy the software.
Right. Now, if you have Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe also has Adobe Story, which is also a screenwriting software.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, they're making it so easy these days to be creative. Everyone's talking about there's too much. It's never been easier to create your own stuff.
Right. And there are apps you can buy for $5, like Final Draft, and just hammer out something on the go.
Man, I mean, look at what we're doing. Okay? Like the most expensive part of this podcast might be my microphone.
Yes.
Maybe. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, would you have said you know how much this thing cost, Dustin?
Yep.
And this, and it's nothing to sneeze at. But Dustin and I mean, we started this podcast. I started that with a lot. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. I'm so sorry, Dustin.
It's all good,
guys. When we started this show, I had a little Logitech stick mic that's like the thickness of this pen, and it sounded super hollow because it had no body to absorb sound. And Dustin, I don't even think had a mic either. I think you just spoke into your desktop mic, right?
I think probably, yeah.
And then for years, Dustin and I both had $20 USB microphones
Yeah.
And we only recently upgraded our mics just because we wanted to.
Exactly.
You can do, I'm just using the plain old internet for this and a few other tricks up my sleeve, but those are tricks that are open source and largely free or standard with any new computer.
Yep.
It's never been easier, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, God, I'm sorry, Dustin.
No, it's all good.
The time code for this review will start now and not back there. Logan Lucky. Just so I'll just start us off just so we can get some momentum here because I derailed this. Logan Lucky is directed by Steven Soderbergh. It's also, I guess, shot by Steven Soderbergh under a pseudonym because he does that, right?
Yes.
I only recently figured that out, but he also is his own DP. And it stars Channing Tatum.
I didn't know that.
I believe he is. I believe he shoots a lot of his own films like under a pseudonym.
Yes, I remember hearing that. Yes.
Yeah. And it stars Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig,
Katie Holmes is in it.
Hilary
Roy
Swank
from The Office.
That guy's in it.
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane's in it. Sebastian Stan's in it. It's just a fun little ensemble of people. And it is about a guy and his brother and a couple other people who plan a heist on Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I'm out of gas. Dustin, take over. This is your review anyway. I don't know why I took this from you. I'm such a bad host today. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. So yeah, it is about Channing Tatum's character Jimmy Logan, who is a down on his luck. I guess he was a former construction worker, or he worked in the tunnels there underneath the speedway until he was fired. Yeah. And he was fired because he has a bad leg. Bad leg, right?
He has like a recent injury or something. It's a liability issue.
Right. So they have to let him go. And so he now has this wealth of information about the inner workings of the speedway, and add to that, his ex-wife and the mother of his daughter is, this rich, woman who kind of looks down on him. So I think kind of just the pressures of life, the willingness or the desire to provide for his daughter the way that her mother can. And, just the desire to make a name for himself in some small way sort of drives this guy to get his brother involved, and then also a criminal who's already incarcerated named Joe Bang, played by Daniel Craig. They recruit him into this 3-man operation in which they will steal money, bags and bags and bags and bags and bags of money from the speedway while the race is going on, using the speedway's own tube system.
It's those pneumatic tubes, I think.
Yeah,
right.
Pneumatic tubes. Yeah, from like say concession stands to the vault, and they're gonna hijack it, get all the money into their truck, and drive the truck right out of the speedway. Hopefully, nobody bats an eye at this. The movie's full of twists and turns, right down to the very end, and so it is a little bit. What I find refreshing, it's a little bit hard to predict where this is going to go. At least it was for me. I mean, maybe not for you, but it was a little difficult for me to predict how this was going to go. And I think that what you have here are strong characters who, are well defined by the actors who play them. And even Daniel Craig's character, who is, essentially a wacky sitcom character, gets well defined by Daniel Craig, and to the point where you kind of feel like you know him, you know what he's thinking, you know how he's gonna do things, and so like I said, the movie's just filled with all of these great visuals and gags. It is a funny movie. It is a dramatic movie, but I think most importantly, it is a heist movie. So I think if you like Ocean's 11 kind of movies, you'll probably like this. And if you like movies with, clever twists and turns, I think you'll like this. To me, this also has some weird like Coen Brothers vibe to it. And so I think if you like the way the Coen Brothers kind of stack their scenes and pad them out with really funny, short, quirky dialogue, I think you'll like this.
Yeah, I would agree with the Coen Brothers point. It definitely has that charm of a particular. It definitely has that charm of setting where they sell you on the world that these characters live in, and they make it feel lived in. Like everyone's got these strange character quirks that aren't necessarily like set up and pay off for, later in the film, just because that's just a thing the characters have. Whether it was a choice on Steven Soderbergh's part or the actor's part, they have personalities that aren't there specifically to serve a means to an end for the story. And that's always, I like stuff like that in movies because that shows me that you've put in the work to give a character traits, and it's not just because later on they'll do something with those eggs. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I appreciate little things like that.
Yeah. So what did you think of the movie overall?
I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, I was too. I think, I'll let you expand on that before I go any further. Go ahead.
I just, so the film has that Soderbergh charm. It's sort of got that pace and those fun camera pans that he does. It definitely feels like a Soderbergh film. Yeah. But what I found that lacked the most was an overall sense of tension for me, at least. Yep. At no point did I feel that these characters would not succeed in the heist. There was no point during the actual job where I was like, oh God, what happens now? And even in Ocean's 11, there was tension. Like a film that's as safe feeling as Ocean's 11, there were times where I was like, oh God, now this changed. How are they going to react to it? What does this do now? This affects this guy's part. And at no point did something happen here where I was like, oh no, like
this whole thing's going to fall apart. Yeah.
This thing just felt like it went according to plan. And the ending was really fun because they do a lot of what Soderbergh does, like he did in Ocean's 11, where they go back and show you an earlier point in the film, but then they show you what happens after that you didn't see before. And it really comes together in a fun way. But, kind of in a way that's sort of like those Sherlock cheats we talked about for the fourth season. Like some things it was like, but there was nothing in here that set that up previously. You just sort of said, okay, now we'll, and maybe that's fine because he chose to show us something that occurred and it made sense and that was all fine.
Sure.
But everything came together too easily. Yeah. And so I didn't feel like the ending was particularly earned.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
that's just one point at least.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, I was disappointed just because I feel like the story was a little bit dull. Like I feel like all the pieces were there, and like I said, the actors do breathe life into these characters. But aside from just the characters, I thought were well defined, but they didn't really matter to the story. I don't know if that made any sense. So like you have Sebastian Stan's character, right, who could easily have been cut out, or even Seth MacFarlane's character, who really didn't do much. Even when you think he's about to be integral to the story, he kind of doesn't. He just isn't. And so, I think even though the story is populated with interesting characters, the story itself I thought was kind of dull. Now, what happens here and in movies like this, to me, is I can sit there through the whole thing and just kind of be more or less like unmoved by it. And then finally in the end, when all the secrets, so to speak, are revealed, I can kind of go, oh, cool, I didn't see that coming, or whatever. And then for me, it kind of redeems it a little bit, because you leave at least feeling like, oh, cool, like it defied my expectations. But at the same time, does that really make up for a dull 90 minutes prior to that? And in this case, I think probably not. The movie is, I guess I would say it's 3 stars. It's fine, but it's not going to it's really not going to challenge you. It's not going to make you feel like, oh man, this was, one of the best heist movies or anything of the sort. But it is interesting. The characters are interesting. And they mean well. I mean, it's easy to understand the motivation of each of these characters.
Yeah.
The problem, like I said, and like you said, is a lack of tension. It's really kind of that it's dull, and I hate that for the movie because I don't know that it's really excuse me, I don't know that it's really Steven Soderbergh's fault. Other than to say that, maybe this would have been better handled in the hands of, say, the Coen brothers. I feel like they might have added something to this that Steven Soderbergh wasn't prepared to add to it. Maybe that's because it was seen as a heist film. Like I could see where he would view this and say, okay, this is a heist movie, number one. But the truth is, to me, it's more of a comedy. And so really, you could have had this be an Edgar Wright film and it would have been better. And so, I feel like maybe Steven Soderbergh as the director was the downfall of it. But I also know that Steven Soderbergh's wife wrote the movie. So, probably it was never going to be anybody else. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you'd just taken this nugget of a story and given it to an Edgar Wright or the Coen brothers, I think you would have come out with a better movie. Probably.
Yeah, I think so. And just directors with a little bit more of style. I mean, Soderbergh has kind of a distinct style, but his style in and of itself isn't as much of a savior to film as Edgar Wright or the Coens.
Sure, and I don't think it lends itself to comedy as well. I mean, there are comedy bits, sure, in the Ocean's movies or whatever, but I don't know that really he handles comedy as well as other directors.
I would agree with that. I mean, you've got. I don't know. The only in terms of the actors, by the way, like you mentioned, but the only one that is relatively funny or fun here is Daniel Craig's character is Joe Bang because he's playing pretty well against type.
Sure. Go ahead.
It's okay. You go.
No, I was going to say I felt like you're right. Channing Tatum kind of played it really safe and boring.
Yeah.
And maybe that could have been fixed with a different actor. I mean, imagine this in the hands of it's easy to say, but a Shia LaBeouf.
Oh man, that would have been good.
I think that could have been really cool, right?
Shia LaBeouf is so underrated as an actor. The dude's crazy as hell, but my God, he is so watchable.
Mm-hmm. And not just watchable, he's so good at drama, but he's also so good at comedy. And I hate that he's kind of had a falling out with comedy lately, but he is a really gifted comedian. And so, and I feel like you put him in this kind of role and I think the movie becomes very different.
That guy's going to have a comeback one day, I think.
I
he's
hope
going to
so.
have a raging comeback.
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get into phase 10 of the Marvel films or something. He'll be, you know what I mean? Who
is he going to be? Namor, the Submariner?
I don't know. Who will be left at that point?
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Very obscure. He could be Howard the Duck. He could be Howard the Duck. I mean, who
right
knows?
There you go.
But I thought but someone like Adam Driver, who I think is a pretty underrated actor as well, and he's particularly good in the Star Wars movies. He's just kind of wooden here, and I could definitely tell it was a choice on his part to play it so stiff. And there was certainly a quality about him and the way he talked that was kind of interesting. But after a while, I was like, dude, are you ever going to change emotional ranges? And he doesn't.
Right. No, it's true.
And so I found him kind of uncompelling too. I would give this a 2.5 stars. And I know we don't really do half stars, you and I, but I feel like I have to split hairs sometimes because it's not a 3. I don't consider this for me something it's fine because I wouldn't recommend people see this movie.
Okay.
I think in terms of in Steven Soderbergh's catalog, there's nothing about a fan of his. the reason to see this movie is if you're a fan of someone particularly involved. If you're a Channing Tatum fan, then fine, watch this movie. It's not going to ruin your opinion of him, or Adam Driver, or Daniel Craig, or Steven Soderbergh if you're a completist for any of those artists. But I think that's it. I don't think that the general audience will care that much, or has care. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's been obviously a while since it's been in theaters, but for me, like, if I this isn't a recommendation for me in terms of something that I think I can't think of a reason, any particular reason that could tell the general person, yeah, you should see Logan Lucky. Yeah. So, but I don't feel like it's deserving of just a solid 2 either, because I think some of this just isn't for me. Yeah. But it's also me talking. So, sure. I mean, all I can say is 2.5 stars. It's just not quite that mid-range for me. Sure. To where I can recommend a 3. I can't really recommend a 2. Yeah.
Well, let's play this game. If we were to recast this movie, I have an idea for the 3 main actors here. So because I do feel like I like Daniel Craig in this, and like I said, I do think that these characters are interesting. But I think maybe a different cast would have made this a very different movie. So for me, stick Shia LaBeouf in the Channing Tatum role. Yeah. Then you give Adam Driver's role to either Taylor Kitsch or Emile Hirsch. Oh, and I think they could totally knock that out of the park, man. Then you go with Daniel Craig's role. You gut that and give it to Jim Carrey.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm kind of with you. I mean, it seems too much like a Jim Carrey gag.
Sure.
I think you'd have to get someone who's also playing against type. Like you'd get. Okay. This is a terrible example, but like someone like Alan Rickman, you know what I mean? Like just someone who's like, oh my God, what's he doing in this role?
Right. Okay. So hold on. Against type.
This isn't totally against type, but here's a closer example. Okay. Maybe it's too on the nose and maybe it's too close to Jim Carrey, but like someone like Johnny Depp. Okay. Like a leading man, because Daniel Craig's a leading man. Right. And Johnny Depp's, you put a leading man in that bit, in that supporting role like that to these actors who don't have nearly as much clout as him. That's where leading men tend to have fun, and that's a role that's there for a leading man to explore and take some risks that aren't going to tank the movie. So that just seems like why you would cast someone like Johnny Depp, because he can just go, okay, I'm just going to sort of play around with this role and make this a livable character. And if no one likes him, that's fine. The movie's still fine. If everyone likes him, the movie's better. Okay, I got it, man. Okay. So part of the fun here, Daniel Craig is a Brit playing this Southern guy, right? Yeah. Give it to Kenneth Branagh. Oh, that would be great. It'd be definitely interesting.
I just love Kenneth Branagh. But no, I don't know. I feel like this is a movie like that. It's like the pieces are there. Yeah. It's just that it never quite lines up. It's like Steven Soderbergh was playing a game of Connect 4, and he had so many pieces on the board, and they're all good pieces, but he lined up like 3s all over the place, and it's like, but it didn't get you 4.
Kind of like Pokemon Puzzle League, right, Dustin?
Yes, kind of like Pokemon Puzzle League.
You guys, we played so much Pokemon Puzzle League before Dustin's wedding. It was nuts.
We did. You play it so long that sometimes like you see in your eyes, like when you close them, you just see the pieces. That's what was happening. And my eyes water when I play that game because I really don't think I blink the entire time.
That was my first time playing. Mm-hmm. My first time playing that game. And it was so stressful.
You did well.
I thank you. It's really hard. It's so hard. It's so smart.
What was it? I think it was you. I think that said that just randomly was like, it was like really quiet, and all of a sudden you just go, "I'm so scared."
I'm so nervous.
I'm so nervous.
Yeah. Well. I guess that's in the oh man, hold on. Oh my God, my throat is fun.
Oh, you're star screaming.
Oh my God, my throat. Yeah. My actual throat was Starscreaming, wasn't my microphone.
Right, exactly. Dude, do you remember when our mics used to Starscream?
My God, dude, every single time we'd go over, what was it? We'd go over 70 minutes and it would start to do that.
Yep.
Who knows if it would do it these days? We haven't recorded that long in a while. I guess it didn't for the Avengers, did it?
No, it didn't.
Well, anyway.
It's interesting.
Logan Lucky, guys.
Yeah, Logan Lucky.
2.75 stars.
Oh, I see.
Sorry about
that.
that
Just
cough.
split the difference there.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's what I have to do for Letterboxd. I have to sort of do a median score.
Yeah.
Like for the Avengers, it's like 4.8 stars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's move on to the Greatest Showman, Dustin.
Yeah.
Before we do you want to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so guys, just real quick, you heard at the top of the show about Letterboxd pro account upgrade or extension. So we're going to go, I know this episode's in May, but we're just going to roll this over into the June just to get things sort of started here. So the code word for June is, I'm going to say jitterbug.
All right, jitterbug it is.
Jitterbug. That's the code word for it. So if you email us with jitterbug in the subject line and give us your Letterboxd username, then you are eligible to get a free pro account upgrade or extension for an entire year. So anyway, letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's what happens when I do it and I haven't been drinking.
LGBARRXD.
Letterboxd. Real quick, just a quick piece of news. Dustin, I don't know if you had lots of thoughts on this, but I just wanted to talk about it because it was significant. It has nothing to do with The Greatest Showman.
Sure.
Did you see the news today about Jake Gyllenhaal being cast or being in talks to play Mysterio?
I did.
In the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel?
Yes, I did.
I think that's very interesting.
I do too. I've long thought Mysterio should be on the big screen. It's such a compelling visual that I think it could be really cool. With all that is happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think going with a villain that is grander in terms of visuals is a really good move, because if they pare it down too much and you end up with, say like Kraven the Hunter or something, as cool as that would be, and I love Kraven. Man,
I still want to see that. I want to see Kraven so bad.
I do too. Do you know that originally Kraven was slated to be the villain of the Black Panther? And in the film, and then it was going to dovetail into Spider-Man is what I heard at one point, and Ryan Coogler nixed the idea.
I see why he did that, but I still would have liked to have seen that. I
think that would have been really cool. Maybe like a post-credit scene or something would have been really cool. But
something.
But I understand why they did it. Now, whatever. Now, as far as Mysterio goes, I think it's a really smart move to go with something a little more grand coming off of Infinity War.
Right.
And then maybe for the third one, you can pare it down a little bit and make it a little more grounded. But at least right after Infinity War, that's still going to be so fresh on everybody's mind that I think, keeping the scale large is a good thing.
And I just think they're going to get bolder with what they want to do to the overall continuity. And Mysterio obviously certainly has the capabilities to upend time and reality a little bit on his own terms. I mean, Mysterio rewrote the whole, pretty much erased the comic book continuity once, didn't he?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean,
Well, and see, the great thing about Mysterio is that a lot of times, he's depicted as like an illusionist, right? So all of this stuff that we see is actually an illusion. So if it looks like he's manipulating time, the truth is he's not. But it'll feel that way. It'll look that way. And so I think that's a really cool concept that essentially he's not doing anything. And I think that's really cool. Now they may completely, revamp that for the film, and maybe what he does is for real. But anyway, whichever way they go with it, I just love Mysterio, and I think that I really hope they keep the fishbowl head thing. Like if he does not have the fishbowl head thing, I'm going to be a little disappointed.
I'm just excited. One, it's significant they cast Jake Gyllenhaal because he was going to replace Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, I think as early as the second
Spider-Man
movie.
2.
Because he hurt his back.
He hurt his back, yeah.
And yeah, I remember thinking at the time, like, dude, Jake Gyllenhaal. And Jake Gyllenhaal went on to do so much with his career, and he's such a talented actor. My God, that guy's incredible.
Yeah, I love Jake Gyllenhaal.
And I think, and I'm hoping, it's another sort of Michael Keaton-esque, choice for them where it's like, this is a good actor who really, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal has proven time and again he can be intimidating and scary, but also charming. And I don't think we've ever seen him play like a real villain before. Like,
no,
he's played, sort of unlikable
creepy
characters.
guys.
Creepers. Everyone go watch Nightcrawler.
Yeah, great movie.
But he's never played like a straight up villain before, and I think he'd be incredibly disarming as such.
Yeah, no, he's so great because he's able to be versatile in whatever role. He can play the everyman, something like Zodiac, and then he can turn around and give you Nightcrawler, and it's just so great to see an actor who still has a good range. So I'm excited for that because with Spider-Man especially, all of the villains in Spider-Man have to be empathetic. And you can go too far with that. You can make them so empathetic that they're no longer threatening. Yeah. But I think that if there's anybody in Hollywood that I trust to be both empathetic and incredibly creepy, it's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's move on to this Greatest Showman review. Dustin, tell us about The Greatest Showman because I have not actually seen this film.
Okay.
I just know a little bit about it, but that's all I know.
Sure. So The Greatest Showman is directed by Michael Gracie, not Michael Grayson.
Oh, wow.
But Michael Gracie. It is written by Bill Condon. So you may know Bill Condon. He directed The Beauty and the Beast, the live action film that just came out.
Also Gods and Monsters.
Yes, also Gods and Monsters, which he wrote. He also wrote Chicago and Dreamgirls. The guy's been around.
I think he directed the last two Twilight movies, maybe?
Did he?
I think that was Bill Condon.
Okay, well there you go.
Bill.
He directed Mr. Holmes. Yes. So he often works with Ian McKellen. Mm-hmm. So he's a great talent. So the film, The Greatest Showman, is about it's the story of P.T. Barnum and how he went from a nobody, sort of a rags to riches story, if you will, and he meets. So essentially, he meets this girl who he falls in love with, and her parents are a little more well off than his. So he begins this sort of lifelong quest to impress her parents.
Is that the Rebecca Ferguson character?
Who? Sorry,
the girl.
No. It's Michelle Williams that he falls in love with. He is trying to always impress her parents and trying to prove that he is more than just a poor man, but rather he is capable of great things. And so he tells these elaborate, great stories to his daughters, and they love him very much. And he's very successful in that he has a wife, he has children that love him, and he should be happy and content with what he has, and yet he never quite is. And so he purchases an old museum, which nobody is coming to, and decides that instead of these dead exhibits, what if there were live exhibits? And what if these live exhibits were a little bit freakish, a little bit weird? Mm-hmm. So he goes and finds, these carny types and finds them just all over town, all over the world, even holds auditions, the tallest man, the shortest man, all of these things, the bearded lady, the twin, like the Siamese twins, and like all these things. And he puts them in a show, which he calls the circus, and it gets huge. And it's this constant battle to appear like a legitimate, artist and businessman, even though he's still being ridiculed by his wife's father. He's still being ridiculed by critics who call his work the opposite of art, grotesque and rubbish, and so it's all of these people that are sort of against him. But what he's not seeing is all the people who are for him, and so P.T. Barnum kind of goes on this journey of self-discovery, but also sort of discovering what's always been there. So it is a good story. It's one of those stories that it's like, this teaches like good lessons. It's a nice reminder to focus on the positives, to focus on the people who love you, and let that be your measure of success, and not financial wealth or whatever. And so that's always appreciated. Because that's not often the message you hear, but having said that, I think the film is just okay. At the end of the day, it's not the most accurate historically film. It doesn't actually tell the story of P.T. Barnum. It tells a fictional story of a man who goes by that name. But a quick reading of Wikipedia will tell you things didn't quite turn out the way the film would present them.
I heard some stuff.
Yeah, and so it's strange. It's almost one of those things where you wish it was a fictional character instead. Then like, why did they ape the name of this man and then change everything about him, to sort of glorify what he did? If in fact, probably he wasn't that great of a guy, or whatever the case may be. But regardless, if we talk about the movie itself, the movie itself is, I think, largely kind of forgettable. It seems to have made a wave in the theatrical community. In my job, I deal with people who are a little more theatrically minded, people who kind of grew up on stage, or in the drama club in schools and whatnot, and it seems to have been a hit in that world.
That's been my observation as well.
But the film has a 58 on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 7.8 on IMDb and a 48 on Metascore. So it's kind of all over the place. In my mind, it's largely forgettable. There was maybe one song that I thought like, oh yeah, this is the hit. Like you could just kind of feel like this is the one that everyone's going to be singing.
This is the single.
Right, exactly. This is the single, and everything else is just kind of there to prove that it's a musical. And you have, all these things like bad lip singing. You've got some pretty poor blocking and camera shots. Obviously the choreography is fine. And Hugh Jackman can sing really well. I don't know if it's for me, maybe it's the TV I was watching it on or whatever, but I felt like the music wasn't mixed very well. So I had a hard time kind of hearing him over the music sometimes. It just didn't seem like, maybe as well made as some other modern musicals, like The Phantom of the Opera or what was the Les Miserables? These kind of things that were very well made and were very well lauded for the music within the film. And this, I felt like the music was just okay. And like I said, while the choreography was great, sometimes the camera angles and just the setups really worked against it. Because it's like, well, why am I looking at the side of this right now? Or why am I looking at this weird Dutch angle? And it didn't quite work. It almost felt like it was choreographed by somebody who was from the theater and filmed by somebody who didn't know anything about theater. And so you have that going on. It felt relatively small in that there were only a few little locations of this movie. So you would think they would just build it on a studio where they could like fully control what shots they were getting and all this stuff, but it just didn't seem that way. I think it's miscast in a few spots. I think Hugh Jackman's great, Michelle Williams is great, Rebecca Ferguson is great. Zac Efron and Zendaya, I think, are completely miscast here. Not only do they not really do anything in this movie, but they're not particularly strong in it either. And I'm sure they can both sing. Granted, I've never really seen High School Musical, so I don't know that Zac Efron can sing, but I'm going to assume he can, and I'm going to assume Zendaya can, but I don't think they got their moment here. And they had a solo, which is weird. So I don't know if it was just that it wasn't mixed well, whatever. But the point is, for me, the film was forgettable. The music was forgettable. There's nothing memorable about like, oh, that was a beautiful shot, or the cinematography was just kind of dull and just too tight. The production design I felt like was really off-putting. Everything looked wet the whole time. And it just didn't really sit well with me. Like it wasn't a bad movie, but it also wasn't a particularly good one. So for that reason, I would just say, if you're really into musicals, if you're really into theater, chances are you'll like it, just judging from the people that I know. But if you're a movie buff and you really want to see a good movie, if you're a history buff and really want to see good historical accuracy, if you are just a fan of Hugh Jackman, probably you could sit this one out. It doesn't really do anything to make you dislike Hugh Jackman, but it doesn't service that. It doesn't service him, and by proxy, it doesn't service your itch for good movies with him in it.
Man,
for me. I just feel like this is one you could skip, and I hate to say that because I know some people who really love this, but yeah, so I would say skip it. I'm gonna give it 2 stars just because I really want to reserve that 1 star for something real bad, but
right.
But I'm gonna give it 2 stars. Ultimately, I don't believe that movies like this are a waste of time. I believe you learn from movies like this. So I don't regret having seen it. And I think whatever I give a 1 to, it's going to be something I regret watching. But for this, I don't regret having seen it, but I didn't learn anything. I wasn't challenged by it. And I certainly, am not going to watch it again. So yeah, The Greatest Showman, skip it.
All righty. Yeah, man. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. Hell, do you have time for a couple for me? A couple speed rounds for me? I just got a couple I wanted to offload because I'm gonna shoot those things right off. We're gonna start off with John Carter. Finally saw this, Dustin.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I did. I saw John Carter. I rented it, obviously. And I'll just cut right to the chase. It's directed by Andrew Stanton, stars Taylor Kitsch, and a couple of other people probably, but voices of Willem Dafoe. Mm-hmm. I can't remember really many other people. God, who's
Mark
in there?
Strong.
Bryan Cranston's in there for a second. That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
John Carter, but you guys know what John Carter is. It's been out for like 6-7 years now.
Yeah, it's like the biggest flop of 2012.
Yeah, it was a big flop. And it's based on the Edgar Rice Burroughs book, and it's about is he Civil War? He's an ex-soldier, I think, from the Civil War, and who basically gets transported to Mars and finds himself in the midst of their Civil War on their planet, and he grows and finds his purpose again, essentially, because he was pretty bummed out from his family being killed back on Earth. And finds a new home and a new family and a new purpose on what do they call Mars in that movie?
Barsoom.
Barsoom, which was a pretty sweet name actually.
Yes.
That was the only sweet name in that whole movie because
right.
Because this movie was kind of boring for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The plot doesn't make much sense to me. I just kept thinking like, I'm not sure how much I like characters just being dropped in the middle of someone else's fight. I sort of had that problem with Mad Max Fury Road. It was like this plot exists without him. And while it has significance for him as a character, I still prefer an active protagonist. Yeah. That's just me though. Sure. So maybe it kind of makes sense that he's thrust into this civil war. I didn't really care for Taylor Kitsch in the role. I like him as a person. I like him in other roles. And maybe this wasn't so much his fault. Maybe it was the writing, because I thought the writing was pretty terrible in this movie. He just things are said that are either just cliched or I don't know. The ending really does bring it home for me. I really kind of liked how it ends. I thought that was really interesting. It had a real Avatar thing going on there. You know what I'm talking about. But overall, I wouldn't recommend John Carter, I think, to see. I gave it 2 stars. It didn't piss me off, but I was a little bit let down. Because I knew it was a flop, but I'd heard several people, including you, Dustin, I think, who had said, like, give it a watch because I think there's elements of it worth seeing. And maybe I just saw it too many years too late. Although I think we both agreed the premise of this film was just so late because it was so much a part of science fiction's building blocks that by the time it got its own movie, it's been played out.
Exactly.
Which is unfair to it in a way.
Yeah.
So anyway. Yeah,
George Lucas aped so much from it for the Star Wars movies.
He took everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so you're right. I recommend this movie. And here's why. I always hate when somebody's like, you have to watch it 2 times to like really get it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's kind of saying like, yeah, it sucks, but like keep watching it and you'll love it. And
it's good if you do the work twice.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, that's not fair. Like if you can't, if the art isn't good the first time, then why should I give it a second chance? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like I hate this painting, but I'm going to go look at it again tomorrow. Yeah. No, I'm not going to. So I hate when somebody says that, but here's why the second viewing worked better for me. It's because the first time I was so inundated with exactly what you said, all of these words, like, you get Barsoom and you've got Tars Tarkas and you've got the I can't even remember all the alien names, but like the Tharks. I don't know, the Heliums and the Zodangas and the Tharks and whatever else. And
the pushing and the pulling.
You can't do that anymore. But you have like all these things. And the first time I saw it, I felt like it was just all going over my head. Yeah. Right. So the second time I watched, I was able to kind of pick up what they were saying. And when I could actually understand the gravity behind why the Tharks were the way they were and what each character wanted, because there's like the princess, Deja Thoris, I think is her name. And
more like Deja Thorax.
Okay. You win this round, Uber. So whatever her dad, she's the princess, right? So her dad, whatever. Anyway, they don't call him king. They call him something else. Anyway. So he wants something. I don't even, whatever. The point is, I'm doing a terrible job of this, but the point, it's been so long. But the point is, when I sat down and actually understood like what they wanted and what, each side of the Civil War wanted, in context with like, okay, this name refers to this group of people or this name refers to this person. Then it kind of clicked and all made sense, but it wouldn't have the first time because I couldn't follow who was Tars Tarkas. Like that, I can't even think, who is this person? And so then the second time when I was like, okay, Tars Tarkas, that's Willem Dafoe's character. He's green. Like I could put it in my mind. So whenever they refer to him, I know who they're talking about. And so that's why to me the second time worked better. But I always hate to say like I recommend it, but you have to watch it twice. So what I'll say is like I recommend it, but maybe watch it with subtitles. That might help.
Yeah. So I believe you.
Yes, yes.
But I'm still not going to do it.
Okay. Yes. No. Understood.
I did watch this with subtitles.
Okay.
Because I think after like 4 sentences, I was like, nope, and I turned them on.
Yeah.
Because I think the difference maybe between you and me here is one is time.
Sure.
But two is probably like a natural curiosity and about the film. And
Sure.
So after it's over for you, it's like, I want to go back and understand that. And for me, it's just like, because to me, I think just how slow and boring it was makes me not want to revisit it, even though I totally believe you in that it is more rewarding the second time.
Yeah.
For exactly the reasons you said.
Yeah.
So I John Carter's, I just don't think it's nothing. I don't think it's anything special, but
sure.
So that's just a 2-star for me.
Sure.
Anyway, here's one from 2008 that I watched recently because I kept this movie around because I have kids. Speed Racer by the artists formerly known as the Wachowski brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I pause you just for 1 second and say why this is so weird? Because I had no idea you were going to talk about these two movies. And then in the review where I was recasting Logan Lucky, I said Taylor Kitsch and Emil Hirsch.
I know, isn't that nuts?
How is that? That's impossible.
Yeah, I don't have a Shia movie.
The lottery.
Yeah, I don't have a Shia movie in my list, but it is kind of weird that I had them like right here on my phone in front of me, and you said those two people. I was like, whoa, shit.
That's so crazy. Okay, go ahead.
It is kind of nuts. So Speed Racer, I'll just cut to the chase. Speed Racer is a 3-star for me. So Speed Racer was a big ass flop in the box office when it came out. It tanked. The budget was sky high, and like no one came to see it. And one of the reasons that the budget was sky high is because the thing is full of these hyper stylized visuals. The whole thing, there's more green screens than the Star Wars prequels up in here. But also, I believe more color combinations than had ever been seen by the human eye in film ever.
Yes.
I think I read.
Yes.
I think there was literally things that said there were color combinations that have never been seen by the human eye. Period.
Oh my gosh.
So the use of color in this film was obviously to the max, and the pictures I'm presumably throwing up right now will show you just a taste of that. I'm not into the hyper stylized visuals. I think in a way that worked against this film because there are times where it really is sensory overload. There's races happening. There's one point where they're racing next to this strobe light and with like a zebra running on it, and like they're moving so fast, and it's just kind of jarring, and the movement in these films isn't exactly natural at times. I think Emil Hirsch does a good job as Speed. I think he plays it kind of just right. Really, the whole cast does. His whole family, John Goodman as his dad, Susan Sarandon as his mom, Christina Ricci as Trixie. God, who am I? And I want to say a particularly good job for Roger Allen, I think, who's really great as Mr. Royalton, the villain. Just a great villain. Or a well played villain at least. And really Matthew Fox as Racer X. I thought was a highlight of this movie. At the time, he was in the middle of doing Lost. So when we all saw Speed Racer, we were like, this is so strange.
Yeah.
The race sequences are extremely thrilling. I still really enjoy watching them. The final race, especially. The film's plot is a real kind of anti-crony capitalist, or probably just capitalist, but if you look at it. Crony capitalism,
yes,
but it's a very anti-capitalist plot, anti-big business sort of stuff. So, I mean, and that doesn't really mix that well with the kid audience that the movie's obviously intended for, because it's full of characters like Spritle, who's like one of the more annoying movie characters in the last 10 years for me, is that kid and his monkey who throws shit at people. He calls them Chim Chim cookies, and he throws them at a mob boss and just splatters on his face. And it's just weird. But, so it's clearly intended, and there's bright colors, there's real stylized, inoffensive action. Nothing's real. And And so it's clearly meant to bring in kids, but sort of like the prequels in a way. You've got this plot, and then when there are scenes where they get super into the weeds, it's like, we don't have enough to unroll it, but the antitrust laws of this, and I'm just like, okay, if I'm a kid, I'm super lost, and I'm bored. And so if you're an adult, it's like, okay, I kind of understand this story's got some meat to it, you know? And then you go to these action sequences, and it just doesn't match your sensibility as an adult. So it is kind of weird to have this mismatch of what's going on in the story and what's going on screen. I still enjoy it. I still think it delivers as advertised, which is why it gets a 3. It's a colorful, bright, family friendly story about about the value of family and not just going for the money. A good wholesome plot theme. And I'm still glad I have it. I don't think my kids would really understand it. My son looked up every now and then.
Sure.
But I just thought it was worth revisiting. I was just looking at it again. I was like, I'm glad I like this, but it still kind of deserved what it got at the box office. It was, I just want to talk about those 2 films real quick. So yeah, there's
Sweet.
that.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I think that's gonna be it for this iteration of the HooperCast. So again, everyone, patreon.com/HooperCast for the on time show, possibly the video. SoundCloud.com. Well, of course, if you're not on Patreon, then you already know where to go for SoundCloud. Here you are. Hello. Facebook.com/HooperCast, at HooperCast on Twitter, at Dustin Weldon, at Connor_Dempsey, all on Twitter. And there's a fair amount of archives in the YouTube channel, the HooperCast YouTube channel, if you want to go back and listen to past episodes. You can probably just Google a movie and then HooperCast, and it'll take you to our video if we have done a review of it. So that is before Patreon, because now those are hidden. But, you can get the ones before then just by using the Googles. All right. The Googles. McGoogles is my name. McGoogle. What's McGoogles from? I forgot where he was from. McGoogles is my name.
And this is a song.
Kellen would know. I should call Kellen right now and just ask him. Where's McGoogles from?
Connor, is that Max Keeble's big move?
Is it? Hold on.
Oh no.
We need to figure this out right now. While I texted Kellen, while Kellen figures out what McGoogles is from, wasn't he like a big frog?
Yes, that's Max Keeble's big move.
Is it Max Keeble's big move?
I am 90% sure.
McGoogles is my name. I like to something. Yeah. But yeah. It's like this, and everyone's like, "Oh, McGoogles." Yeah.
Hold on, I'm YouTubing it right now.
Okay.
Hold on. Stand by, everybody. McGoogle.
Are you Googling McGoogles?
Yes. Yep, it's Max Keeble's big move. I'm so sad that I knew that.
Get a life, Dustin.
I could be a genius, but I know too many things about unimportant things.
I know. I get told this frequently, that if I just didn't remember all this useless stuff about films, I could, be a better person.
The sad thing is how fast I knew what that was.
Yeah, it just took you a second.
It's not like I...
In your mind palace, it was not in the attic. That was like right there in the sitting room.
I know.
Like you walk inside Dustin's mind palace, like, oh, there's my pillows, there's the whole tree. Oh, McGoogles.
Oh, and there's Max Keeble's Big Move, starring Josh Peck. Josh Peck in some lounge pants.
Oh man.
Back in the day when he made movies like Snow Day.
Back in the day when he dressed like a pothead, but wasn't yet a pothead.
What is that guy up to now?
Back when pothead was still a term that we use in popular parlance. What's he up to now? It probably owns a dispensary.
Did you hear about that thing where he and Drake Bell had a falling out, but now they're cool again?
What?
Because Josh Peck got married and didn't invite Drake. But he did invite his then co-star on some like NBC sitcom called Grandfathered. So he invited John Stamos to the wedding, and like I think John Stamos like tweeted about it or something, and like Drake tweeted and was like, "Didn't get my invite, bro. or something like that. And then like all of Twitter lit Josh on fire.
Oh,
and how dare you not invite Drake?
Oh,
and
wow.
But they've since patched things up. They're cool now.
Oh man, that's some. That sounds like that's like a classic episode of Drake and
Again, I knew that story like I just knew that story out of the top of my head.
I really do feel like Josh Peck made the whackness where he was like, oh, this is a character who like smokes a lot of weed. And then he like came off the movie and goes, you know what? I think I like smoking. That. Yeah, I'm just going to do that for the rest of my life.
Right.
Yeah. Like, oh, I've dropped 20 pounds in the 2 weeks we shot this film.
Right.
I'm going to keep this up.
Yep. And back when Drake and Josh was on, everybody was like, oh, wow, he must be being so healthy. Look at all the weight he lost.
It was like, nah, dog, my metabolism's sky high. It's higher than I am right now. All right. Anyway, okay, guys. See you later. Then HooperCast next week. Check us out, and we'll see you then.